everybody. In today's video, we're going to be covering two pretty basic concepts that can do a lot for you. So the first one is going to be string concatenation, and that's what we're going to be mostly focusing on. Concatenation is putting two or more strings together by combining them at the ends. So what we're going to do in the first example is have a string variable that has a name and then attach it to some instructions. When we put them together, we attach the end of the name to the beginning of the instructions to have the instructions command the name. So then we have a full message. So what does that look like? So we're starting with a blank slate here in our text editor. And to start off, we're going to need some strings. So we're going to go ahead and declare our variables. We want them to be strings. We'll call the first one just name. And I'm going to type in James. So we've made our first string. We've made that James. I'm actually going to add a comma and a space there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our second string, which we're going to just call INS, short for instructions. So these are going to be the instructions that are applied to James, or whatever you make the name for your first string variable, okay? So for this, all we need to really do is, what do we want the instructions to be? We're going to do finish your assignment. So we want James to finish the assignment, but we need this in a full message right now. If we put it out right now, it's just going to say either James or finish your assignment. But we want to be able to put those together. So we're going to have a third string, which is where we have what we want our final output to be for the whole message. So we're going to call this message. We're going to do name. And then to concatenate, all you have to do is we're adding them together. We're going to put a plus sign. So name plus INS. Okay. So that tells the program we want to put those two together. It's written just like how you think it would. And then we need it to print that out for us. So we're going to do console.writeLine. And we want to put out the message, okay? So we're going to write in here, we're going to write out message. All right. So now when we hit run, it's going to put James plus the instructions, and we're going to get this full thing printed out. Okay, so as you can see, that's exactly what happened. We used that first string, added it to the second one to make the message, printed it out. All right, so that's simple enough, and that works if we know what we want our strings to be. We know what they are. They're a static value. We could make these anything. We could make it Allison, finish your assignment. Okay, now name equals Allison, so we get that. We could change this and have it say something completely different. We could have go get groceries. Okay, now we've changed our whole message because we've changed the value of our strings and our variables. All right, so something else we can do with this is a little more advanced and use another concept. We can use user input for our strings and let whoever is using the program determine what those are. Okay, so we're going to clear this out, and we want to have a totally different thing for this. So let's say for this example, we're asking someone where they want to eat at. Okay, so we have to ask our user a question. We can have them input, but if we don't ask them, a question, what do we want from them? So we're going to put in quotes here on the console write line, where should we eat for lunch? Okay, so now the user knows what we want to know. Where should we eat for lunch? Okay, now we're going to have a string. Okay, and we're going to call this restaurant. Okay, so this is going to be what the user puts in. Okay, where should we eat for lunch? we could have any number of options. Okay, we could have McDonald's or Taco Bell or O'Charlie's, anything. Okay, so we don't know what the input's going to be, so we can't anticipate that. So we're going to have it take input from the user. So rather than having console write line, which is printing it, we want it to read. We want it to read what we input. Okay, so we don't need to type anything in there because we don't know. We don't know what's in here, so we're going to leave that blank. Now for the next part, we can have this concatenate our original message. Where should we eat for lunch? Okay, we've got that. Or I'm sorry, we're not concatenating that, but that's the question. Then it reads this, and then now we can concatenate some other strings that will be our response. So we're printing out a response. So this is going to be a write line command, and we're going to put we're not this is the message for anything. So no matter what they put in, it's going to say this. So because this is defined, this has a static value. So restaurant, whatever the user put in. Okay, so now what will this look like when we run this? We've got this question. Okay, where should we eat for lunch? The user is going to give us an answer wherever they want to eat for lunch. Now this is going to be our response. Whatever they put in for restaurant doesn't sound very good. So let's try that out and see what that looks like. Oh, we need a semicolon there. Let's try that again. So where should we eat for lunch? Let's say they put in McDonald's. Okay, enter, and McDonald's doesn't sound very good. Okay. Also, when concatenating, I've forgotten to do this. We want to put a space because now we've got some space between whatever the input was and the rest of what our response. So if we run this again, as you can see here, there's no space there. I can put something else in now. So where should we eat for lunch? Taco Bell. And Taco Bell doesn't sound very good. As you can see, we have a space there now, but we also have a different output because we've put it in. So we could put in anything. We could put in something that's not even a restaurant. Okay, the program doesn't know what it is. We could put car. Okay, car doesn't sound very good. Car doesn't sound very good to eat, but it's also not a restaurant. It's going to print out whatever we put in for the input. Okay, so we have taken our initial write line here. Where should we eat for lunch? Got a response, concatenated our response from the user to make a full message. Okay. You can do a lot with this. You can also use how we did in the first example with static values to concatenate those, but those only really work in specific instances where you know already what the static value is if you are assigning it to a variable, because now you've assigned a value to it. So that's its value, and it's going to use that every time. So if we put in string restaurant equals McDonald's, every time restaurant is going to equal McDonald's. It's not going to ask for an input. It's just going to say restaurant equals McDonald's. So there's a lot you can do with these. I found a lot of information on some different websites, which I'll put in the description. Check those out for more examples, maybe some more uses, trying some different things out, and try this out on your own. See what you can get. You can do a lot of different stuff with this. So just try some things out, see what you get. Thanks, guys. See you in the next video.